Ruby, we talked before, not that long ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We've spoken a couple times. First time we had a good conversation. Second time I just dropped by to ask some questions. But yeah, I'm back again, man.
Well, welcome back. What's in your mind?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, honestly, I've been thinking about it, and I just feel like what do you think about the idea that maybe we've hit like a plateau in regards to like the evidence for God or against God? Like, I don't think we're going to come up with any new arguments. I think at this point we've already exhausted basically like everything there is to talk about almost, you know? So now I don't think it's a matter of like providing new evidence. I think it's a matter of like a change of hearts. And I wanted to ask you, I guess, just like, how do you feel now, like without Christianity? Because I know you were a Christian before, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's what I think. I think there's not going to be any more evidence that has to be presented. I think it's a matter of like your heart now. And I guess I just want to make sure your heart's in the right place, bro. That like this is okay for you, you know?
So you doubt my
Um,
motives?
no, I'm not doubting. I don't even know what your motives are, to be honest. Um,
So my heart is that I believe things that I have reasonable confidence to be true in, right? So if there's no
mhm.
good reason to believe that Christianity is true, I'm not going to believe it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is there's 2.3, 2.4 billion people who think there is good reason.
Well,
But if you're saying there's not good
they
reason,
can't seem to find one and articulate it.
yeah, right, exactly. So it can't be articulated to the level that we're hoping for. You know, like I'm sure even me before I was like kind of hoping for a certain standard, but I guess I had to change myself more because I realized the standard that I wanted wasn't available.
Would you
And
accept the same argument for Islam?
no, because there's a lot of things that like just don't make sense with that. So like
Yeah,
an example
exactly.
would
Yeah,
be
yeah. So you
no,
think
no,
that
but I could give
Islam
you an
is
example for that.
right, but you think that
Yeah.
Islam is
Mhm.
incoherent, which is why you can't accept it as being true. And I'm saying the same thing about
Mhm.
Christianity. I think Christianity is incoherent and therefore not true.
Okay, that's fair. Well, I would be honest then, like between Islam and Christianity, I would go with the more reasonable between the two of them. And
How?
I think
How's Christianity more
Christianity,
reasonable?
just a major historical fact is like the crucifixion of Christ.
So,
Even the Quran says that it was made to appear that he was crucified.
yeah, the Quran disagrees. The Quran thinks that Jesus didn't actually get crucified and killed.
Right, exactly.
So, like,
So
uh,
that's my point. Is
well,
like if it says that we saw it, but it denies that it's happening. So it's like, what is the spirit that's behind that? That is, why would you say that?
I think
Like,
it's the
why
same
would you?
spirit that was behind Christianity. I think people put together a
I,
narrative that bolsters their position, and then they go out and try to convince people of it. Now, is it possible that some people, some early Christians, literally believed that Jesus resurrected? I believe that to be the case. There's lots of people who probably believed he really resurrected. I just don't find there to be any evidence for that belief. For the same reason, I don't believe there's any evidence that Muhammad split the moon or Joseph Smith performed miracles or any of the other religious figures.
mm-hmm. But like, no other religion's theology is really based on just discrediting another religion, if that makes sense. Like
I don't know what that has to
Is
do with anything.
purposely set up, well, Islam is purposely set up to contradict Christianity, which seems to go with reality. Like out of the two, which one really happened? Was Christ really crucified, or was it only made to appear that he was crucified?
Well, I don't really know if he was or he wasn't, but it's also kind of an irrelevant point if he was crucified. No one cares if he was crucified. Simon Bar Kokhba was crucified, but that's
A
not a
lot of
meaningful
people
data point.
right, but a lot of people like this is kind of important because 2.4 billion people and even like atheists believe that Jesus was crucified. I would say like the majority of the world believes that Jesus was crucified because even by Islamic standards, it was made to appear that he was. So I think that's a lie. I think that's fabrication. I think it's twisting reality. And so you want to go with something more grounded in reality, but hopefully the thing most grounded in reality.
Certainly not
Um,
Jesus
like
rising from the dead.
being
That's not grounded in reality.
I think that's what the evidence points to.
I don't think there's any evidence pointing towards that.
I think there's. What what more evidence would you like for it?
I haven't heard any evidence yet.
Mm-hmm.
Zero. There's no
What about
evidence.
like firsthand? Like, what about firsthand accounts of seeing?
What about the first-hand accounts of other people resurrecting from the dead?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Jesus
Like,
is unique?
I think he's unique in a lot of ways. Yeah.
He's not. Have you heard about the resurrection of Aristeas?
No.
He was documented by Plutarch, by Pliny the Elder, by Herodotus.
Mm-hmm. But the Bible also speaks about other people's resurrections, so it's not like out of this world for there to be other people who were resurrected.
Aristeas rose from the dead before Jesus.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm
Okay.
sure there were people
So
in
then
history.
the God who rose Aristeas from the dead is real. So you believe in the Greek pantheon now?
Um, I'm not really sure how it works, but
Well,
I don't know if
Vespasian.
what I'm
Mhm.
saying is I don't know if there's like little gods who can. I believe there's something about that, like the Council of Gods in like the early Bible. I think there's only one God worthy of worship, but I think it alludes to the fact that there are like mini gods, kind of like small g.
Yeah, there's a bunch of gods. This multiple gods idea is kind of pulled from the Ugaritic mythology, which had
Mm-hmm.
this idea that El had 70 sons and a couple daughters with Asherah. And
Mm-hmm.
then they were referred to as the gods, but because they were children of El, they were like slightly lesser gods. And the Old
Mm-hmm.
Testament kind of taps into this idea. In fact, a lot of times when the angels are mentioned, they're referred to as the sons of God,
Okay,
right?
that's fair.
Same phrase
But
that
I
we get
still,
in Ugaritic.
yeah, I still think it kind of like you don't think it matters whether Jesus was crucified or whether like it was just made to appear, like if it was just a deception. You don't think that has any like any issue at all. You don't see any issue with that debate. Like you don't side
No,
with one side more than the
because he's
other.
not the Messiah, whether he was crucified or not. Now, listen, if it turns out that we found evidence that he was crucified but didn't actually die, like some opponents of Christianity would say, he was crucified but he was taken off the cross before he was actually dead. Well, listen, if that was the case, that we had proof of it, that would be pretty significant. But for my position, it doesn't matter if he was crucified or not, because he still didn't fulfill a single messianic prophecy. The New Testament is full of lies and contradictions, so it's irrelevant if he was killed via crucifixion.
Hmm. That's okay. I still think there's like obviously I believe there is evidence for it. You've done your research. I think you would know, but there's evidence enough for me to believe
Like
at
what?
least, and there's evidence for the Bible being true.
But it's clearly not true. It says things that are demonstrably
Yeah.
untrue.
Yeah, like what? What's an example?
Okay. I think a great example is that in the New Testament,
Mhm.
according to Revelation 21, it says that there's going to be no more death. So if you read Revelation 21, it talks about the New Jerusalem. It says, I saw a
Yep.
new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, see, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and will be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more. This is a vision that taps into Isaiah 65. But anyone who bothered to read Isaiah 65 about the new Jerusalem and the new heaven and new earth would notice that there is still death. It says, I'm about to create a new heaven and new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind, but be glad and rejoice forever in what I am creating. Okay, interesting. We got the new heaven and new earth. And it says, I'm about to create Jerusalem as a joy. So we got the new Jerusalem. I will rejoice in Jerusalem, so on and so forth. Then he says, no more shall there be in it an infant who lives out but a few days, or an old person who does not live out a lifetime. For one who dies at 100 years will be considered a youth, and the one who falls short of 100 will be considered accursed. So, according to the Old Testament, even with the new heaven, new earth, new Jerusalem, there's going to be some people that die.
Hmm. Isaiah 65
Hmm.
and Revelation
21.
21. Oh yeah, 65:17 and 21:4.
Seems like a pretty large theological issue.
Um, yeah, I don't know what it's talking about in Isaiah 65. New heavens and new earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Also, they can't seem to agree on whether or not you need circumcision because, according to Ezekiel, when the Messiah comes and you get the
Mm.
New Jerusalem, all the foreigners have to be circumcised. And according to Isaiah, I think 56, you still have to obey the sacrifices and the Sabbath. But in the New Testament, they say that
Mm-hmm.
the Gentiles don't got to do all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I believe as well. I think for the Gentiles, it's not really necessary.
Right.
Um,
But that's
but
not in the
yeah.
Old Testament, though.
I,
The Old Testament says the opposite.
mhm. Yeah, in Ezekiel, you said?
Yeah, Ezekiel 44.
Ezekiel 44. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you get
It's
the new
there are
Jeru.
questions, man. I'll even concede that to you that like there are a lot of things that like they either seem contradictory or
Well, they are.
like yeah, yeah, I guess so. They are. I think we had this conversation last time actually. They are contradictory, but I think there is a way to understand them that makes sense. Um,
I hear that a lot.
yeah, I
There's an
think.
answer for this. I just don't know
Mhm.
what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, that's because my faith is already in it. So I believe that there's going to be an answer for everything that you have.
It sounds like wishful thinking to
Yeah.
me.
It may be wishful thinking, but what's wrong with wishful thinking, even if it is?
But when it comes to beliefs
What?
that impact how you live
Yeah.
your life, you should go on what seems to be true, not what seems to be wishful thinking.
Well, it doesn't seem to be wishful thinking. It just
Certainly
happens to
is.
be. It doesn't. It
You just
just
said it
happens to be
was
as well.
your own words.
Yeah, yeah. But that wasn't. That wasn't the primary thing. That was only secondary.
Uh-huh.
The secondary is wishful thinking, but not. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, man, I think, like I said, I just think we're at a point where like there's not going to be any new information that comes out. No one is going to make like a better argument for or against God. I think we're basically at a stalemate where it's like at this point you either like believe if you want to, or like if you don't believe, then don't believe. Oh, I almost knocked my drink over.
So,
But
Ruby,
yeah, if
I
you don't
don't
believe, then believe.
disagree. When I was a Christian, I had a religion teacher in high school. When we
Yeah.
asked her about some of the difficult parts of the Bible, I think it was after we had a very difficult conversation about free will, and a lot of people were
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that the Bible doesn't give a clear answer about free will, and some people were in the process of, questioning the validity of the Bible. And
Mm.
she said, well, you can't prove this religion to be true. It's not a fact, it's a faith. You either have faith or you don't. And I think that's an
Mm-hmm.
honest approach. You can't prove Christianity to be true. You either are convinced that it's true or you're not, and I'm not convinced.
Okay. Well, here's what I would say. Uh, what helped me come to like the realization that it is true is comparing it to Islam and seeing like the historical claims that it makes, and like I don't understand why you would make an entire religion contradicting Christianity and the Bible, like twisting things that are inside of it, if you didn't have some kind of ulterior motive that was purposely against the God of the Bible.
Well, it's pretty
Like
easy.
maybe for
They needed a starting point, right? So at the time that Islam got popular, it wasn't in vogue to start completely new religions. You needed to start a religion that was rooted in some older, more respected religion. And so if you're Muhammad, you've only got two choices. You can use the pantheon of Arabian gods, or you can do something else that was popular out there, which was Judaism and Christianity. They viewed both of them roughly the same. And so they decided to build on Judaism and Christianity as their base. That's all.
yeah, but then why would you contradict it if you were trying to use that as your base?
Because you need to be
Like,
able to
wouldn't you just make
contradict
a
it.
continuation?
You need to be able to contradict it so that when you are making points, you're
Mhm.
making some sort of a distinction why that religion is either deficient or the book is deficient and you need this new thing, right?
Mhm.
Because if the old thing had everything you needed for the new religion, you
Mhm.
wouldn't need a book and you wouldn't need a prophet. So in order to start a new religion, you have to find something about the old religion. We're like, well, we like this bit,
Mhm.
but this other bit we don't like. We got to find a way to get rid of it.
Mhm. So then why do you have a problem when like the New Testament does that with the Old?
Well, because it's just a sign that they're all fake, right? So what Islam did with the Bible and Judaism just demonstrates that
Yeah.
it's on bad foundation, right? And I would say the same thing about Christianity. Christianity has the same problem that Islam has.
Here's what I would say then. If let's say you're following the Abrahamic faiths, you don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, wouldn't it make sense that the next continuation or like the next religion in the Abrahamic faiths would be the real Messiah?
No, because I don't believe that Judaism's true. There will not be a Messiah. There
Oh, so
never will
you
be.
don't think there's going to be any Messiah?
Never. Why would I think there's a Messiah if
Oh,
there's no God?
yeah, I guess so. That's a fair point, but like I just the way that you speak about it leads me to believe that you don't believe that Jesus is the
I'm
Messiah,
not
but
Jewish.
you believe that there is one that's going to come.
I get this a lot, but I am
uh,
not Judas.
yeah.
Or I mean,
Oh, okay.
Jewish.
Jewish, yeah. Yeah, okay, but just the way that you make your points, it kind of makes it seem like you believe in Judaism, but not Christianity as a continuation.
No, it's a
Okay, I
it's a
see.
jumping
I
off
see.
point because you believe in the Bible,
Mhm.
right? So I'm jumping into the
Yeah.
Bible and I'm showing you
Mhm.
how the New Testament and the Old Testament don't line up,
Okay.
right? But I don't
But
believe any of it.
they don't have to like I think they line up pretty well, but
I don't.
like you said, they have to contradict at a certain point to make a distinction.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. Christianity needs to do something to differentiate
Hmm.
itself from Judaism. And the thing that they
Right, but
do
that
is
doesn't
they make
make
up new
them
prophecies that don't exist. And then they make up new theologies that they hope no one's going to call them out on.
okay. Okay, so let me try to like come at this from a different way. So, what about like a world leader? You don't believe there's like a global world leader is like whoever's at the top would be like the best leader, and that in some way is like God.
No, in fact, we know empirically that typically the leaders that end up on top aren't the most qualified. They're just the people that are willing to lose all of their privacy and anonymity by going into government work. Like, there's a lot of qualified people that could run a country or a listing of countries, but they will never go
Hmm.
into politics because they don't want to be subjected to what politicians have to go through.
Okay,
I don't want to be a
I
politician. That sounds like
see.
a terrible existence.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you don't believe in like anything like supernatural at all. You think it's just like Earth that's here, like
That
just earthly things.
that's it. Yeah. If I believed in the supernatural realm or the spiritual realm, I would probably
Hmm.
be a Buddhist.
Yeah, that's where I went first, actually.
It makes more sense than
Like
Christianity.
yeah, well, I thought so too, and then I looked into it and it didn't. Like,
Well,
there's
not
a
a
whole different world,
monolith.
so it's kind of funny, bro. I don't know. So it's like, look, for like science and stuff, like I don't like dabble in science. I don't do none of that, but I trust them in their matters because they've experienced it, like they've done the work. So I just think there's another side to it. I think there's another end to it that maybe you're not in tune with, and I don't mean that as an insult, but I just mean you're probably a lot smarter than I am on like intellectual things, but on spiritual matters, dude, I'm telling you, the spiritual world is real,
Well,
and
when you can
Islam
when you can
is
prove it, let me
trying
know.
to. Yeah, well, it's happening right now. Well, okay, so 2 Thessalonians 2, I could show you a real time prophecy.
Sure, let's have it.
Um, yeah, cool. So 2 Thessalonians 2 is the man of lawlessness. I'm sure you know he's going to exalt himself above like every um, every object of worship or whatever,
So Nero,
and that he sets. Uh, you could look at it that way. I've done
Caligula,
the research. There's not. Mhm. Yeah,
Stalin
you could look at it as like any number of
could
things.
literally be anybody.
Yeah, but it also
So
says he sets himself up
not
in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God.
well, it's
Right?
certainly not going to get fulfilled right now since there's no temple.
I would say so. I would say so. Check, check, check. Okay,
There's
so
no
what's
third
the
temple.
okay, but Where would the third temple be if there was one?
It would be in Jerusalem.
On the Temple Mount, right?
Theoretically, I think the Jewish people tend to agree that the Temple Mount is the right location, but there's some divided
Yeah.
opinion on that. Either way, I'm fine with saying that there's going to be a temple built on the Temple Mount, and we would call that the third temple.
Okay. And do you know what building is there now?
The Dome of the Rock.
Yeah.
It's not a temple.
It's it's close enough.
It's
It's
not
set up in God's temple, proclaiming to
the
be
not
God.
even close
I'm telling
because
you,
the third temple
I'm
has to abide by the
yeah.
measurements given in Ezekiel. Have you read about
I'm not saying it's
Ezekiel?
the real third temple. I think the real
This
third
is not the right
temple
temple
is
then.
Christ's body. But no, what I'm
Do they
talking about
give
is it's
offerings
gonna
and
set up in God's
sacrifices
temple.
there?
It's I'm sorry?
Do they give offerings and sacrifices there?
I'm not sure, but it's a temple set up there,
Is there a
or a
seat?
temple of sorts set
Is
up
there a
there.
seat there that he can set himself up on?
Would you agree that you don't have to like have a literal seat to sit down somewhere to set yourself up somewhere? You could set up camp anywhere.
No, he's taking the position.
Right,
What was the
right. They're
seat?
where the
What
temple
what
was,
was the
the
seat
spot.
in the temple of the
hmm
Jews? What was the seat?
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a bigger
I'm
symbolism of
talking about
like
a seat. There's a seat in the
yeah,
temple.
you're probably talking about a literal seat,
It
but
was
I'm
a
talking about like
literal
a symbolic.
seat. It was the
Yeah.
Ark of the Covenant. It was a cover of the Ark. It's referred to in the King
hmm
James Bible, I believe, as the seat of mercy. But there, when he's saying that he's going to be on the seat in the temple, declaring himself to be God, that's where God was in the temple. If you read the Exodus and you read the building of the temple and the Ark, God says, you're going to build this thing, you're going to build the seat on the ark, and I'm going to come and rest on the seat as God. So, what he's saying is that there's going to be an actual temple, and the Ark of the Covenant needs to be there, and there's going to be a guy who sets himself up as God inside of the temple.
What are you saying? Where are you getting that information from?
Have you not read Exodus? The instructions for building
Oh,
the tabernacle and then eventually for the temple?
okay, I see. But that's not the point that I'm making. My point is that the Temple Mount is the holy place, right?
It's not,
We can
though.
agree on that at least.
It,
What do you
it's
mean it's not?
it's the location where the future temple will need to be built.
The Temple Mount is where the third temple will have to be rebuilt.
Theoretically, yeah.
Right, but we agree that the Temple Mount is a holy place.
Well, yeah, we would say that the place is sacred.
Right. Okay. So then when Jesus says, when you see the abomination of desolation sitting in the holy place, escape to the
Daniel.
hills.
Oh,
Yeah.
when Jesus
Daniel was
quotes
quoting it.
Daniel.
Yeah, exactly. He quotes Daniel in Matthew.
So that
He's
was
talking about the
Antiochus
abomination.
Epiphanes.
Mm, yeah, but there's many layered like things in there. I think we talked about this last time. You always make fun of
So
me because you
is
say like, so why
Antiochus
isn't there triple
the
prophecies? And
yeah?
yeah, isn't Tychus what?
Is Antiochus Epiphanes the Antichrist?
I don't think so.
There you go.
I do not. Maybe he's one of them, but he's not the Antichrist. I don't believe. I think the Antichrist is the one who's going to come in place of Christ. He's going to come and claim to be the savior of people instead of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But that's what I think, man. I think the Dome of the Rock is it's very like antichrist. Even inside it says far above God from having a son, and it sits right in the holy place of Jerusalem where Jesus carried the cross through the
So what?
city. It's just like kind of spitting on him. I
So
think
what?
it's a mockery. I think it's a mockery. I think there's no reason to mock it unless it's true. Why did it? It's like
Unless what's true?
unless Christ really did carry the cross.
Who's mocking
Why would
him?
you deny it? Islam, when
So
they
what?
deny the cross,
It's not. It's
it's a
not mocking
mockery.
it. They're just making a factual claim. They don't mock Jesus.
It's
Islam reveres Jesus as a prophet. I don't know if you actually studied Islam. It sounds like you
right.
haven't.
No,
They revere
I
Jesus
have. But like,
as the next highest
if I
regarded
say
prophet
Princess
after
Diana
Moses.
was just a regular girl, I'm not giving her her credit.
Who's the highest prophet after Muhammad?
I don't know, but if he's not in first, then
It's
it's not.
Moses.
He's not in the right place.
It's Moses, and then who?
Probably Abraham or Noah, and
Well,
then Jesus. Like they put him pretty far down.
yeah, they do have a system of prophets, but Jesus is the
Mm,
only prophet that they say is an actual Messiah. They literally believe that Jesus was the Messiah for the
yeah,
Jews and the Christians, but they just deny the resurrection nonsense and the crucifixion nonsense. But they're not doing it to mock
I know.
Jesus. They're just saying we don't believe that this actually happened.
Yeah, I don't think that they're doing it to mock Jesus on purpose, but I
Oh,
think it's
there
a
you go.
mockery of Jesus,
Well,
and
I
they're
don't think
following
so.
it without knowing that.
So then all of the Muslims are the Antichrist?
No, I just think they're by a deceived spirit. They're under a deceived spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that the Christians are deceived.
That's okay, and you're allowed to say that. You guys say that every day.
Hmm.
I'm just, I'm just saying the same thing, but
Hmm.
I don't mean it in a hateful way. I just mean it as like I want them to come to Christ, just like I want you guys to come to Christ because I think it's better here. I don't mean that, like I don't think you guys are evil, but I think that the influences that you guys have had are not the right ones.
You mean like
That's all.
actual learning and critical thinking? Like actually
You could
reading the
call it
book
that.
that Christians won't read? You guys refuse to read this book.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that it's okay to execute people for crimes that the pastor commits?
No.
Why not?
Execute people for the crimes a pastor commits.
Yeah.
Um, are you going for like the whole atonement for sins doesn't make sense?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Mm-mm. So like
Um,
if a pastor commits a sin, should
yeah.
the whole congregation be held accountable?
Depends. If he was like
Depends.
sinning yeah, if he was sinning continuously and people knew it and they weren't doing anything, like weren't
Well,
talking
I
to
didn't
him to
say
like
that.
correct him.
Now you're making stuff up. I
Yeah.
said if a pastor commits a sin,
hmm
should the whole
No,
congregation be
then
punished for
no,
it?
the whole no, they shouldn't.
Okay, and why not?
Because it wouldn't be fair for other people to really like pay the consequence
Yeah,
for what you did.
because it's not how
hmm
justice works. Unfortunately, God
Yeah.
is totally down with that form of justice. He says after the death of Nadab and Abihu, says he gives instructions. He says Moses said to Aaron and to his sons Eleazar and Ithamar, "Do not dishevel your hair and do not tear your vestments, because that's what you do when you mourn your children dying." And
hmm
wrath, I'm sorry, do not tear your vestments, or you will die, and wrath will strike all the congregation. But your kindred, the whole house of Israel, may mourn the burning that the Lord has sent. So God is saying to the priests that if you mourn the death of your brethren, God's gonna God's gonna break out and execute a bunch of people.
hmm
You think that's
Where was that?
a reasonable
What
thing
passage?
to do? Leviticus 10:6.
Uh, do I think that's a reasonable thing to do? Just based off of what you said, no. The way that you framed it, I don't think it's reasonable.
Okay.
Then Moses said to Aaron and his sons Eleazar and do not let your hair become unkempt, and do not tear your clothes, or you will die, and the Lord will be angry with you. Whole community. Oh, I see. I see. Yeah.
Isn't it weird that if the priests misbehave, that the whole congregation has to be held accountable for it?
I guess so. It is weird, but like I'm seeing something like kind of like what I said before.
Like what?
It's kind of our job as a community to like foster good things in people. So if one person does bad, it's kind of like a failure on the part of the community.
But should the community go to prison with the lawbreaker or not?
No, but it says
Oh, well, there you
the
go.
Lord will be angry with your whole community. I don't see.
Yeah, it will strike the congregation. The congregation is the community.
hmm
So God would strike the congregation if the priest did something wrong.
Yeah, I don't see that. It says
It says
Or
you
you will die, and the Lord will be angry with the whole community.
it says do
Wait.
not dishevel your hair and do not tear your vestments, or you will die, and wrath will strike all of the congregation.
Hmm. My translation just says, "Or you will die, and the Lord will be angry with the whole community."
What in the world are you reading?
NIV. It's the first one
I
on
gotta get rid
Google.
of the NIV, man. I don't know why that thing's still hanging around.
Yeah, it's the default too when you look stuff up because I never
On
did
Bible
this.
Gateway, it is the default. I know.
Yeah, Bible Gateway. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a a tiny Twitter conversation many years ago with one of the guys that was running the website, but I never did
Mm.
ask him about putting NIV as the default. I'm curious to know why they chose the NIV for that. Probably just because it's the most popular.
Yeah, I guess so. I actually have, oh no, mine's New World Translation. Whoops.
Oh,
I got it as a gift, actually. I had no idea.
are you gonna be
I got it as a gift
JW?
from my. Yeah, yeah, it was from a JW. Yeah, she did give me it as a gift.
Yeah,
It was
that's
very
their
sweet of her.
translation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I've been reading like the Mormon version, I guess, or
Shit,
JW.
Mormonism's
Yeah.
fun at least.
Yeah.
So there's
They're
that.
always so nice. I like running into their like elders out in public because they're always like they're always coming to talk to me for some reason. I don't know why, but it's funny. But
So
anyway,
so to the point, like
yeah.
I find
Mhm.
it hard to believe in a God that claims, like in Deuteronomy 32, that he's just in all of his ways, but then he's
Mhm.
totally okay being unjust by punishing people for other people's crimes.
Mhm.
That seems silly to me.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me. I just have like in my mind that at the end things will just be explained
But
and then like I won't have any more
But that's the
questions.
point, Ruby. Like you find stuff that's
Mhm.
completely incongruent with the reality, and rather than saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, that's problematic," you say, "Well, I just don't
Mhm.
understand it." There'll be an explanation. But I could do the same thing for Islam. I could say, "Listen, this
Yeah.
part doesn't add up. I don't understand it." But it's okay. It'll be explained in the end. You only
Right. But
do that
what
for
you have to
this
understand is that
religion. You don't do it for any other religion.
yeah, there's problems with every point of view though. Literally every viewpoint in the world there's problems with. Even if I chose not to believe in God, there'd be problems with that view. I would have to explain where life came from. I would have to explain how the universe started. I would have to explain so many more things than I have to
You actually wouldn't
when
have
I
to do
believe
any
in
of
the
that.
Bible. Well, not making a claim is just not participating in life. There's not like that. Yeah, you could do that, but that's just death. That's not anything.
You don't have to know the origin of the universe to know if a God was the cause of it.
Right, but saying, "Well, I don't know what the cause is not an answer either. I
But
mean, it's
it
just
is.
saying
It's an
you don't
honest
know.
answer.
Yeah, that's fine. And I've
Say,
said that before. I don't
saying I don't
know.
know is way better than saying, well, this God did it, even though this God is full of contradictions and things I can't explain. I think a more
Yeah,
honest answer would just be, I don't know.
I have not known and I have known, and I would choose knowing every time. It's a lot better than not knowing.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
Well, listen, Ruby, it was pleasant talking to you again. I got to move on and get some
yeah,
other guests up here,
for
but
sure.
thanks for
No
coming back
worries,
and
dude.
chatting with us.
Yeah, anytime. All right, take care, guys.
All right.
Peace out.
Cheers.